Is A24 like even capable of making a bad movie at this point? I'm not so sure. And this Rose Glass, boy, can she do a psychological thriller or what? This was not the movie I expected it to be, but I just assumed it was just like some sort of like Thelma and Louise type of deal, which I guess in a way it kind of is.
Yes, a little bit.
This is a movie that perfectly illustrates like why you shouldn't watch trailers, because this movie was like significantly better because I went into it really not knowing what to expect.
Yeah, like I said, I love that. That's why I don't watch trailers and I try and avoid spoilers and leaks and stuff.
Turns out this is a pretty standard crime thriller with like a psychological edge to it.
The excitement in the air is palpable. The atmosphere is electric. A celebration of history in the making.
What is this place?
So this is the follow-up to Saint Maud by writer and director Rose Glass. This has a stellar cast of Kristen Stewart, Katie O'Brien, Dave Franco, Jenna Malone, and Ed Harris.
This was one, besides Ed Harris, who does a stellar job anyways, like, weren't really seeing the actors. I was seeing the character. Like, Kristen Stewart killed it.
Yep.
But, like, I didn't see her. Like, I saw the character the whole time.
This is about gym manager Lou, who falls for Jackie, a bodybuilder who's passing through town en route to a competition in Las Vegas. And the two get embroiled in what is a basically local crime syndicate. Lou is played by Kristen Stewart, and she's sort of like a recluse gym manager. It's this little bumblefuck town in New Mexico. She doesn't want to leave town despite her hatred of her father, which is Ed Harris. Her mother not being around, she's estranged. But she stays in town because her sister, Beth, played by Jenna Malone, is in an abusive relationship with her husband, JJ, played by Dave Franco. Jackie rolls through, and that's Katie O'Brien's character. And she's just this jacked bodybuilder going to a competition, and the two quickly fall deeply and like madly in love with each other. I've actually never seen a better description of the phrase madly in love than this movie.
Crazy chemistry.
This movie is really a mashup of a lot of other great movies, but it's like I saw like Blood Simple, which is the Coen brothers' first movie, Thelma and Louise, Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul. Maybe that was just by virtue of being set in New Mexico, but it had like very similar elements, I felt. I think it's really just the depiction of like blue collar, like working class people sort of thrown into like this like crime shit, like double dealings and revenge and sex and drugs. That's sort of how I took it.
I thought it was a great movie. 90% of it was great. I don't think that the Hulk scene at the end was
you're Draxing me. You're Draxing me.
No, I didn't hate it, but from what we had through the whole movie, like up to that point, it was a different like, and you know, like I said, they teased it where like, you know, she juices up and you kind of see like her muscles doing the whole roidy ragey thing. But then there was, you know, and then there was the vomit scene. It felt like it was a completely different movie up until that point. And I get why they did it, but all at the same time, I don't think it necessarily needed to be done.
It wasn't that striking to me in terms of like, I wasn't like, oh man, this is super out of the blue or not fitting. I think mainly because I was expecting something like it, not exactly what happened, just something.
Yeah.
Because of watching Saint Maud.
It's so ridiculous that you had to realize that like this isn't actually happening. Like she did. I mean, like, or they should.
Some people think it did.
Realize. Like,
some people think it did. Read
this
the
isn't
reviews.
actually like, did she actually throw up?
No.
Lou?
So once again, we see Rose Glass expertly blur the line between what is real and what isn't in this movie.
Yes.
There's a lot of similarities to Saint Maud, and I'm glad we watched Saint Maud recently because it's fresh in my head. Mostly when like expressing intense feelings of the characters with these trippy visuals. We see Jackie's muscles and veins start to like pulsate, like you said, when she gets mad or roid rages or whatever. We see the throw up scene where she throws up a full human being, and then it cuts and it's like, oh no, she actually really just threw up. Like regular good old fashioned throw up. And then until she completely hulks the fuck out, like you just mentioned. It's perfectly valid to not like that the way it ended like that. But I guess I kind of just saw where it was going. This movie makes more of an effort to show you that it is actually a delusion, where Saint Maud didn't.
Correct.
Saint Maud like left it ambiguous. This is telling you like, no, she's having hallucinations from the steroids that she's doing. But what happened at the end was a shared delusion between the two of them, because Kristen Stewart also sees that she's huge.
Yeah.
And it's meant to, I think, let the audience think either it's a shared delusion because they're like so infatuated with each other and they're both wrapped up in each other's bullshit at this point, and that was like a little representation of that, or the script has now been flipped and we're watching Kristen Stewart's delusion of Jackie rather than Jackie's delusion of herself. One of those two things.
Well, I mean, and Jackie knows she's a monster. She expresses it in the movie. And you're kind of seeing Lou realize this at that moment because, I mean, but she already knew it. But then that's another thing is like you didn't see any sort of transformation when she ripped Franco's jaw off.
That was crazy. Crazy and unexpected. But yeah, that's how I took it. I mean, clearly Jackie is like running from something. Her mom on the phone says, "You're a monster." And then she says to Kristen Stewart later on, like, "I kill people." So it seems like she has a fucking screw loose.
Probably like her dad was a deadbeat dad or something.
I think because she lost control on Franco. And I think you're supposed to think it's like the roid rage, which very well could be. I took it as that she just has like some sort of like violent past where she like has snapped before.
That's what I'm saying is like, yeah, she could have had a deadbeat dad that she killed and like she can't go near her family anymore because she did it so violently. Her mom doesn't want her near her siblings.
I thought the writing in this movie was so tight and good. Like every beat of this movie was just really just perfect. There was a moment that I specifically took note about because it was very casual, and I hate movies and shows where they like force exposition onto you.
Yeah.
Respect.
That shit sucks.
I hate it.
It's not as bad for me as the forced exposition that the audience already knows.
Just respect your audience. That's all I want.
Yeah.
But this movie did that. You don't know what time frame this movie is. But when Dave Franco is talking to Jackie, when she first goes to the gun range, very quick and casual, little bit of dialogue. Since Die Hard came out, everybody wants to try the Beretta. That is excellent writing because it fits the scene. It tells you the time period we're in. Die Hard came out in 1988. We know where we are. We're somewhere in that 88 to 90 something.
Right.
I also love the progression of how Ed Harris's like empire was like slowly unveiled.
Oh yeah.
Because he owns this gun range. And at first, it just seems like he's like this local, like podunk, like small pond little criminal.
Yeah.
But slowly but surely, you realize
he was the leader of the Fast and Furious operation.
Apparently, acting was phenomenal. Like we both said, every single person in this movie was unbelievable. Yeah. This might be the best role I've ever seen Kristen Stewart. I thought she was unbelievable in this.
I'm a fan of Rose Glass. Like you said, I think there's some very, very good detailed stuff that she's done in both of these films that have made me like want to watch more of her stuff. Would I have changed some things about the film? Sure, but I'd say that about every movie I watched. There's a couple things you can always say, I liked it or I didn't. But overall, I thought it was great.
It was just a very simple crime thriller. A very simple story. Just as Saint Maud explored the depth that people will go to for faith or their faith, this similarly explored the lengths that people will go for love. Love is the central theme of this movie, and I thought that was awesome that every single character like has their own version of what they would do for love.
Well, yeah, I mean, we see, I mostly agree with that.
That's how I took it.
Jackie's character is a little more nuanced in that she's seemingly sort of on the run, but also chasing something, and that she's trying to get to this powerlifting competition. So she has this drive and to not be able to get like, you see the scene where she talks about the guy. She's like, yeah, I could have, I'm not worried or I'm not scared of him.
Yeah.
It seems like she wants to not be afraid of men is what it seems like. So she works to create this physical body that she's created.
Yeah, totally.
So there, what she did with Lou was certainly about love, but her other ambitions, it was about like not being afraid and being able to fight.
Maybe she killed her father.
I think you get, that's why I was saying is,
or maybe
maybe
she killed somebody who was abusing her.
Yeah, she could have had a deadbeat dad who was beating up on her, and she beat him up and killed him so badly that mom was like, I don't want you near us or your siblings again.
That makes sense.
And now she's on the run, but she's also like in this situation where she doesn't want to be in a situation where she gets beat up anymore. So she becomes this badass bodybuilder. And while she's doing that, she might as well go compete and win some money.
That actually makes a lot of sense. I'm surprised I didn't pick up on that during the movie, because that would also explain why she rages the fuck out and kills James Franco.
Correct.
Because he's an abuser. It wasn't like the movie leads you to believe she's doing it.
Yeah, I picked it. Like, there's something in her history that made her like.
No, that makes a lot of sense, because the movie,
when the innocent are picked on, like, she snaps and she's like, I can't, like, this can't stand.
The movie shows it as if she's defending Kristen Stewart, because Kristen Stewart's torn up about her sister, but it could be a little bit of both.
Kristen Stewart's reaction when she shoots what's her name in the neck, she's all, what the fuck? It's not what it looks like.
I also took note of one last thing too. She sees a sign on the gym wall that says the body achieves what the mind believes.
Yep.
That basically sums up the whole movie in terms of the psychological aspect part of it. The cinematography in this movie was phenomenal. The setting was great. Like, just everything about this movie I thought was great. The soundtrack was amazing. It's like cosmic, the soundtrack. It was so good. And that's also how I took the movie too, is like these two have like this cosmic connection with each other. That's why it was so intense.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
The movie starts.
Well, that's what life's about. It's about coming into other people's orbits.
Interesting you say that, because the movie opens, you're looking at the night sky, and that's like meant to represent what you just said, and connection and all this stuff, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
This shit was so good. I sat through the entire credits just to soak it all in. And I rarely do that.
Nice.
It's got a 6.7 on IMDb. I'm going to give it, honestly, this is a 10 out of 10 for me.
10 out of 10. Holy snikes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I give it a bump. It's a 7 for me. Not perfect, but definitely very good and definitely worth a watch. But if you don't understand it, maybe sit down and think about it and watch it again.
Listen, I could totally see how this movie wouldn't be for everybody, for sure. But that does not mean that you can't appreciate it for, like I said, the acting, the writing, the cinematography, like all that stuff was great. You feel like the desperation that these women have, and just these people in this town.
Yeah, small towns with one stop sign in the middle of it, and the population's like 400 people, and they have a general store, and that's it.
Yeah. And like the seedy-ass gym that...
A bowling alley and a gym,
And like a shooting range that has a
churches.
Bar. The shooting range with the bar in it that people like hang out at. That was funny to me. Yeah, hilarious.
They still have those.